All right. Jamie says hello to you, Ben. So I'm going to say hello to you, Ben, as well. Let's get cracking, shall we? It's 4 minutes past 9, 4 minutes
Okay.
past 4 minutes past 8 in the UK, and 4 minutes past something else in California, where Paul is. Maybe can hear us, and maybe can't, and maybe we can hear him, and maybe we can't. Paul.
Yes.
Great. Nice to see you, mate. It's nice to have you two on this episode 4. Is it episode 4? Yeah. Or Behind the Music.
Oh.
Two of the greatest frontmen of noughties rock and roll out there, and now Ben Gautrey, singer and chief puppet master with Type 2 Error, who have a single. Is it a single? I don't know. Is it a track? New track out. It was released last week.
Friday, right?
Yeah, Friday it was released. So this is part of the PR.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone.
You've been doing some interviews. You've been getting some love, and this sort of aligns nicely. We've got a release out that's Losers have Fool Anyone Out, which was released a couple of weeks ago, and Type 2 Error have Pushing Up out, which was released last week. So
it's
nice.
just like Blur and Oasis, isn't it?
Oh, it's just like that. Who's who?
Well, I've got to say,
I think we'd both want to be Blur, wouldn't we? I don't know, actually.
No, Ben would want to be Oasis.
Really? Okay.
Depends what era, doesn't it? Really. I mean,
yeah.
But I've got to say, I really like Don't Fool Anyone and all the recent songs that have come out on EP01. Don't know if I'm saying it correctly. So really glad that you're making music to share. So I've been really enjoying listening to a lot of Losers recently.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, it's been exciting for us just to do this process and keep us on our toes, It's can't recommend it highly enough. Webinars, live versions, stuff and things every week. What we're doing now? Okay, right. Oh, right. This, that, and that. Yeah, it's good. And nice to finally get tracks out as well. It must feel good for you to get a new track out, because it's been a while, right?
As Tom Coots reminded me, it's taken some time to get us to this stage.
When did you first get together with Kieran in a room?
I don't think now's the forum for that kind of question, but we started to make music in his flat in East London, probably around about 10 years ago. Friday nights, go around, he'd cook, take some Jack Daniels, and then the guitar and keyboard or piano would come out about 11, and then we'd be playing till we were too sort of hammered, and then that'd be it for another week. And then we'd just see next week whether we'd done anything interesting or whether we just wanted to do a new jam. And so it started really slowly, and then bit by bit we had a couple of songs, and we thought it might be nice to go and play in a live room and play these songs louder. And then we got introduced to Johnny, our drummer, who's now in Valencia, and he came in, and he was just by far and away the best musician. Like you can tell when someone's amazing at something within a few seconds. And it was like, okay, Kieran and me raised our eyebrows and sort of apologized after the first jam. And no, Johnny was very chilled and said he enjoyed it, so managed to keep him. And here we are all these years later with a record finally on its way out.
Is the record coming out soon, or are you going to do track by track like your good friend Losers? Or
I don't know. I do enjoy the approach that you've taken, sort of every 6 weeks to have something to look forward to. There's not much to look forward to in the world at the moment, is there? And it's really good to sort of, as a fan of Losers, to see there's a new song coming, and then you do the teaser and you hear like a little sound bed of what the song's going to sound like. And I do quite enjoy that. But there's a lot of work behind the scenes that goes on before you release a song. As I'm sure you're fully aware about getting the tracks uploaded onto the different streaming platforms, and then having the social banners and everything that goes with it. You have to sort of be good at many things now, not just writing songs, but you sort of have to, there's lots of things that you have to do to complement it, to when you're putting a song out, which I didn't quite realize. So we're learning as we go along, and Kieran won't mind me saying this, but he's been worse than useless on this. But at least he's put some amazing work on the songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, musicians have to be content providers now, don't they? But I mean, you don't have to be. You can take it as far as you want, can't you? I mean, it's never ending, isn't it? But there's so many platforms that it is hard to stay on top of it, actually, because there's so many different formats. Yeah, I guess I think for us the 6-week thing is okay to stay on top of, but I guess, you know, I mean, you do other things, and it's hard if it's not sort of your main focus, because it is a lot to stay on top of. But I think it keeps it interesting by keeping it in that cycle for us and for people listening as well, hopefully.
I think we were like both Coopers and Milo were kind of in the same boat as at the start of our careers. You know, we had like a lot of support behind us, and kind of in a way a lot of things were done for us. You know, that's social media wasn't such a huge thing at the time. We were allowed to just be musicians and go on tour and be creative, and that was it. I felt like everything else, well, for my part, was sort of sorted out and laid out, and we could just be very totally in control of the creativity, and that's what we did, I guess. But now it's so, I felt like a dinosaur when I started doing this process and just getting involved in all the different techniques and the content and everything like that. And it just took me a while to adjust from just being in a studio, kind of like, all right, this is me, to like going out into the world, an unknown world where everyone's been existing for so many years and got their flow and stuff. And I'm just slowly starting to find that now, I suppose. I mean, I think we were kind of in the same boat, were we, with the like Cooper's Milo thing? I don't know. You just allowed to do what the hell you want, right?
Well, sorry, Tom. How rude of me, please.
The social network for us was the show, wasn't it? I mean, that's what it was. It had all the boxes ticked, because you would always like be getting like, hopefully friends bringing friends, and you didn't have to do anything other than just go out and keep playing shows. And if you sort of played a half decent show, then next time there would hopefully be some more people.
Yeah. Remember shows?
I quite like, I do quite like this way that through the social channels, it's easier for bands to have a direct voice to their audience. And that's what I've quite enjoying over the last few weeks. It's a bit like when our first ever demo, remember, Tom, we just do the artwork with crayons, and then we started to put Polaroids in our first EP to personalize it, and had like written letters, and then the merch that we did was sort of coming for us, and then bit by bit that connection, it got sort of taken out of our hands, maybe a bit of us, bit of the labeling around us, where that sort of direct connection we had, as you said, through the gigs, but also some of the little gestures that we would do and little surprises we put in those EPs, that dissipated. So I quite enjoyed that now, but it's just, you know, it's just a different way of thinking and approaching it and learning as we go. So it's just very different, isn't it? Very, very different. And no live shows now. So like I said, Paul, so it's I guess they're coming back in the UK. I don't know what the situation is in other countries. It's yeah, I think people are ready to see some live music, but it's also been really interesting to see, for instance, what you've done in terms of when you deconstruct your tracks and you sort of remix your own song and play it differently. And I know that I've really enjoyed watching those videos, and I'm sure many other Losers fans have been as well, to see the song interpreted differently. And I think that's been sort of great content that you shared.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah. It's been fun to do, definitely. Yeah. And you know, some of these tracks, I'm sure, Ben, you've heard probably versions of the tracks that we're releasing now. Maybe a few years ago, I know Tom would keep you a good pair of ears. You guys have always had a good relationship, I think, about just sending tracks to each other and just being a voice of reason and sort of saying whether it's shit or not, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult being in the studio by yourself. Like when it was with Coopers. I'm sure you had it with Milo. It's like if you're in a room or in a rehearsal room together with other people and you do something and you play something and then other people are like, whoa, what's that? That's amazing. But if you, if like sometimes I'm sat here by myself and I do something and I think, was that amazing or was it just not very good?
Yeah.
And then, you know, if you suddenly got two versions of something, and then yeah, Ben would always be a go-to guy because we've stayed friends, well, yeah, ever since the split. And I know that I can trust him, of course. And then there's Dan Austin as well. There's, you know, there's a few people I can say, well, you know, what do you think about this? So Ben's been really helpful with stuff, and he's got such a great pair of ears. And like, you know, we've spent a lot of time in studios, haven't we? So I guess,
yeah. I mean, Ben's been very much part of the losers process, you know, for feedback and stuff for a long time, really, haven't you, Ben?
I mean, he's pretty much part of the band, aren't you?
Yeah, getting the buy-in. Why are you doing him with that Type 2 error? Getting losers.
Never quite got the invite until now, so had to start a separate thing. I couldn't hold on forever. But no, it's great to hear the evolution of the songs. You know, as a collective, you're very prolific. And you do such sort of diverse works. It's always fun to listen. And something I said to Tom earlier would be about playing live as well, because you're a great live band as well. Remember some amazing shows at Secret Garden Party and some in London as well. So, you know, I'm sure many people like me would like to see these songs live, some of these new songs and some of the old bangers as well.
Yeah, it's going to happen somehow. We're working on stuff at the moment. It's just how that's going to happen. And I guess lots of musicians are in that place. It's like, well, I don't know, at least with the stuff that we're releasing on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, it's like we don't have to like be controlled by what's happening like outside. We can just sort of stay away from that and still be productive and creative in a sort of live sense, even though it's kind of difficult to do it live with me and Paul in different countries, and you know, but it's still something creative that we probably would have done in a live sense anyway. So, you know, no one knows what's going to happen, do they? So it's play by your own rules, I guess, until things open up, and then when they do, then we'll be ready to do something, I guess. But until then, we'll just do what we do. And I don't know. I mean, I know Ben, we were talking about it earlier. You wanted to go out to do a German tour and a Japanese tour. We've been talking about this for the last 10 years. So is that still on the cards?
So when Kieran and me started to take it a bit more seriously, we sort of only had a very few goals. We wanted to finish recording an album, have an album that we could sit back and be proud of. And we wanted to play our songs in Germany and Japan and anywhere that would have us. But Germany and Japan were two of the countries we identified, because we also want to go sightseeing around those countries as well. So sort of piggyback shows there to see the country. And we had some great shows. I think they were probably the two countries that outside of the UK that we played the most when we were in the Cooper Temple Clause. I mean, we played Germany many times. Had some great shows, and Japan as well. I think we went there so many times. And I was speaking to someone the other day about it. The first time we arrived in Japan, we didn't have a record out, didn't have an album out, and then there were people at the airport to meet us, which is the most surreal thing for six boys from just outside Reading to have. And it was very weird. But the great thing about playing Japan is receptive audiences, but the equipment as well. So whether you're in the band or watching a show, it just sounds amazing because they've just got such pristine equipment. So the audio quality is immense. And so who knows, hopefully they'll invite me back. Also Japan, I was born there, so and try to see if I can get citizenship or become a national, because our country's going downhill. So
yeah. Ulf has said on the chat there, good choice. I'm assuming that Ulf is from Germany, not Japan, but I don't know, maybe he's from Japan. Yeah. But yeah, it would be great to have you in Berlin, absolutely. We are going to be unraveling a track today, and while we unravel ours, hopefully that we can sort of reference some of the studio tricks that you might have used, Ben, because I'm actually quite interested, because I came into one of your sessions when you were in London. I think you were doing guitars or something, but other than that, I didn't really see what you were up to. So it's such a personal experience, isn't it? So I know, you know, obviously how me and Paul work, but it's a really great sounding track, and you can tell that a lot of work's gone into it. So I mean, if we start going through Fool Anyone now, then maybe you can let us know about some of the production techniques that you used while recording Pushing Up in your album.
Sure. Let's hear this. Let's hear some magic.
Okay. Well. Okay. So jumping back to 2009, I think it was the first demo of this, which is kind of crazy, actually. Can you see the screen, by the way? Am I sharing the screen?
Yeah, we can see those pictures of you.
Okay. Eddie actually was the ideas man behind this, which was often the case in the early days. He would come up with an idea, and then I would try and make it. Somehow I didn't really know how to produce back then. And he came with this idea. He had the top line, and he had this guitar idea. So this guitar. And that was it musically. I mean, we'll get onto the vocal in a minute, but
that's really good.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Actually,
and I really like it.
I mean, I was saying to Ben earlier, and we spoke about this on one of the other tracks, Paul. That's like when you start off with something, you usually have a vibe of some sort, don't you? And I guess the longer that tracks go on and evolve in the studio, you can actually get completely removed from that original vibe. Sometimes for the better, but actually sometimes, you know, we've gone back to listen to demos and been like, oh wow, that's pretty cool, actually, isn't it? So
the initial thing is like saying when you're in the studio with the Coopers and you do something, it's like it's just that reaction that sparks something, and that's the foundation of something. If that's not there from the start, then it's really hard to add to something that's just as Ben says, that's instantly draws you in. It's got like a real nice feel, and just a nice feel to it. And that's how all tracks would start, really.
I guess you're the ideas man. Are you in Type 2 era, or is it like a collaborative thing? Do you get stuff from jams, or did you get stuff from jams?
It's a bit of both. So I think the recent song Pushing Up started on my laptop with GarageBand and getting some just heavy drones on the synths. I was in a quite dark place when that started. But then we also some of our songs have been created from just jamming and rehearsing together, and then in a different way. There's maybe 4 minutes in, you all lock into something that sounds good, and thankfully, if you recorded it, you can then take that bit and start to build a song around that. So it's a bit of both. So sometimes we jam, sometimes some of the songs came from just an idea I had on a guitar or keyboard.
Yeah, mixed bag. I guess that's like with us, or how we did with Coopers. I suppose it's like there is no rule, really, is there? It's just wherever the inspiration comes from. So yeah, he came with that guitar line, and I remember instantly coming up with this bass line. I'm not really sure. I think it was kind of Deus inspired. I don't know whether the people out there know Deus, but it was, yeah, it just sort of came instantly. And I remember thinking, wow, that's a really cool bass line. And you'll hear he came up with these. Eddie often comes up with like sort of a basic lyrical idea and a melody, but then it's not always like sort of set with the lyrics, and we quite often sort of adapt them as we go along, don't we? So he had this top line vocal.
You got brains, what were you thinking? You got soul, you'll never be.
So this was actually before we met Paul, I think, wasn't it? You weren't even on board at this point, were you? No. So
we might not have even met, actually. This was pre our friendship, relationship.
Yeah,
Marriage.
goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I used to sing back in those days, and
It's got a great vibe. It's really good. It's got something very alluring about it. Is it slightly slower? Because it feels a bit slower, but it feels more like it's more of a groove. Not to get too technical.
I don't know, maybe it is. It does feel slow, doesn't it? 1:30. It's the same, I think. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, he had that melody, and then
got will, just for destruction.
yeah, that's right. So this early demo, I mean, we used to do. I mean, Cooper's did this as a lot, and Early Losers was to really like draw things out, start from kind of small builds, you know, and by the end it kind of goes crazy. And I remember Eddie saying like he you know, we'll do the verse and the chorus or whatever, and then we'll really build into this sort of Deus frenzy type thing. And it was kind of cool. We had, so the chorus was the same, I think.
God will, just for destruction. You got joy, you'll never live. Don't fool anyone. Don't fool anyone. Don't fool anyone. Don't fool anyone.
So it's a bit Strokesy, isn't it? I think. And me and Paul went back and forth for so long, trying to work out what was going to be there complementing the vocal. And it just went on and on and on and on and on. I can remember spending so many hours with different melody lines, different keyboard parts, guitar parts, backing vocals. I days just lost,
But
and none of them seemed to work.
Yeah, but kept going back because of that initial, as Ben said, that initial vibe, that that spark. You know, there's something in that straight away. So yeah, it just, since 2009, you know, and now what, 2021, now it's come out. Yeah.
Well, it's just because the melody, the vocal melody was so strong, and the lyrical sentiment was so brilliant, and the way it worked with the chords, and harmonically and everything, it was great. But we just felt like it needed some ear candy, and it's kind of hard when you've got something in place and it's been there for a long time. And you know, maybe Ben, you know about this, like you've been listening to it for so long, but you feel like it needs something, but you're not quite sure what it is, and you can end up going, well, I end up going mad, just like looking for that special thing that's like you're not even sure what it is.
I think it's sort of trial and error, isn't it, about not being afraid in the studio. That's why we like the studio, to experiment and go down a tangent, and not be too precious that if you've done some work and taken it in a tangent, that you can just rip it down, start it again from maybe that bass line and the vocal and build it up again. I think there's moments when we're in the September clause, there's maybe stuff where we're so just trying to drive it through to the end, as opposed to taking a pause. Let's deconstruct it, let's keep the essence and build it up again. And so I think having that confidence, and maybe that comes with experience of writing lots of songs, to make sure that you don't lose the essence or the initial thing that really struck a nerve, struck a chord internally, and then sort of build it around that and try to find that eureka moment.
But would you always be in the studio with Kieran and Johnny, and you've got an engineer and a producer, right? So it was 5 of you?
No, what it would be is that we were very fortunate, as so far tight to area where we've met people along the way who are kindred spirits, or were into what we did previously, the Cubitable Clause, and like what we were doing now, and wanted to see if they could collaborate. And one of the people that we met was Reese, who was a producer, engineer, songwriter, and much like you, Tom, he's just he just got this talent for music and just got different ideas. And you say, oh, what about if we try like that? And he goes, oh, what you mean like this? And he plays something back that sounds exactly how you wanted it. So a lot of the tracks would have that period with him where we're trying to build it up to a song, to a good demo stage, and then we bring in Max, our German producer extraordinaire, who then start to be militant about questioning whether bits of the song are necessary and really breaking down the actual song and the sonics. So it's been sort of a step-by-step process, and then we'd have Kieran and Johnny coming in whenever they want to be involved or steer it or just give their opinion if they're not feeling something, and then start again. So
the opinion is a bit like, even if there's people in the room that aren't doing anything like musically, but they're just like, you can tell people's reactions, can't you? If you do something and then someone's just like, you know, they might be making a cup of tea and they're just like, oh, you know, they just look at you and you're like, oh, that's something special. Because, you know, for me here, like going through all those sounds when I'm on my own, they all sound good to me, or whatever, you know, or none of them sound good. It's just like, it's you know, that thing where you're playing to other people and then you get that reaction and you're just like, oh yeah, you know, that's it. And I'm, you know, if you're there with Kieran and Johnny or whatever, it's and an engineer, you know, it's like when we did that second Coopers, well, or a lot of the Coopers things, I'm sure with Milo as well, it's like, it's just quicker, isn't it? And I think that's probably why this has taken so long. And I don't know, maybe if you were spending lots of time on your own, like with your laptop as well, just trying to sort of fine tune things, it just takes longer, doesn't it, I guess?
Yeah, there's a balance between that. There's also something that I really love is losing nights just trying to write a synth layered keyboard line, or just chase after a tone or a sound. And I'm quite happy just sort of, because I find it really, really enjoyable and I don't really think about the end goal. I'm just having a lot of fun doing it. But I think within a band as well, the great thing about a band is sometimes trusting other people's opinions. So I'm sure there'll be bits where you and Paul, one of you might be really into some a particular track or a particular part, the other's not convinced, and then months or weeks or even years later, suddenly something kicks off and that initial doubt suddenly changes to, actually, I really love that bit. I can see why Tom or Paul was really into that. It's wicked. I can't believe I didn't get that immediately.
Well, Ben, we've had arguments, discussions about where the one is in the bar. So
I think we've only ever had one argument, please. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, it's just so easy because, you know, that's.
Yeah, I mean, don't ask me, Paul, about where the one is.
Me and Fisher used to have arguments. Me and Fisher used to have discussions about where the one was, because there's a Cooper Temple clause called Jesus You Smoke Too, and Dids. We really could never work out between us and have a consolidated, this is the one, and Fisher and me still disagree about where the one is. Does it matter? Yes.
I'm going to say when we're talking about just for people, when we're talking about one bar, normally it's 4/4, so the what's like 1 2 3 4 1. That's how you count it. But sometimes Tom will be counting it the one at the start of where the phrase is 3, so it goes 3 4 1 2 3. But I'll be going 1 2 3 4, and we're just, you know,
we've got a track that it's in the things to the folder to work on that we can't work on because of that reason, because we simply can't just work out where the start of the bar is. Anyway,
and these are the things we have to put up with, guys, and you don't. This is the background stuff that Ben was saying before you have to release a track or an album or anything. We got to find where the bloody one is, you know.
I was just thinking,
you don't have to.
Yeah, that's our job, isn't it? I was just thinking, Ben, about what you said about listening to going through sounds and not really caring about, like, you know, anything other than just enjoying it. And actually there is something really enjoyable about that. And while you were talking about it, I was thinking about using a metal detector and how, like, for me, it is like walking, not that I think I used a metal detector once, but like, you know, you're walking around hoping to find something good or decent, and then maybe you find something and you're like, oh, that's good, but maybe I can find something better. And then you go around a little bit more, and then maybe you find something a bit better, or maybe you find something a bit worse, but you can basically just keep going, can't you? And that's quite often what I do with these sounds. And I'm like, right, there's a really good top line in here that can complement this melody so well. And then I find something and I'm like, that's good. And I think there's something better. And then it just goes on and on and on. But it's escapism, isn't it? It's just like, it's just another drug. It's just a way of, well, I mean, it's joy, isn't it? For me, it's like that thing where you're just like in the moment, very present. And it's a lovely thing to do, actually.
Absolutely. I mean, we've gone through, I think, on some of the past webinars, if you haven't seen already, check them out on YouTube, about our equipment, our go-to devices like the synths, the Juno, the CS5, you know, the Monotrons, all those sort of things. I was just wondering what sort of stuff that is your kind of go-to thing for a vibe, Ben, when you're in the studio, or what you remember, or if it's just a guitar, or it's a pedal, or something that's just going to inspire you, or that you can play with forever, you know?
Yeah, no, I guess a lot of the stuff I was for this record started with sounds off GarageBand, and I think because GarageBand is a great tool, but it also, there's only so much you can do, which meant that it wasn't like a kid in a candy store where, you know, just never left the candy store. I was able to sort of get some ideas down, and then working, it's always good to work with people who complement you. And certainly on this record, I mentioned earlier about Johnny, you know, being an amazing rhythm machine and bringing so much depth to our songs through his drumming, and then Kieran being able to bring his skills with keys and synths. And then we were able to work with Reese and Max, who also had so much equipment as well. So I remember we really had a lot of fun with the Prophet, which is the synth. I remember I went into a real pedal spending spree because I wanted to sort of really get some great guitar sounds, and been speaking a lot with Fish, who'd been buying lots of pedals at the time. And so was really happy that I had, you know, a really great pedal board, and went in the studio, and Max, our producer, said, no, we're not using any of this. We're using something called a Monito, which is a Norwegian fuzz pedal. And that's what we use for a lot of our fuzz on the records. So I was told what we were going to do. And then he had a great amp and audio kitchen, so enjoyed that. But
the best.
I guess what I also, yeah, I mean, I've never, maybe because I was sort of singing for a lot of the time. I never really got too much into like obsessed about equipment, and I always used to like picking stuff up, but I never had the discipline to sort of take an instrument further, whether that be when Tommy played trumpets. I had the trumpets on this track, Tom, you know, so definitely couldn't do that, or guitar or bass.
It's weird because the trumpets on this sound really similar to the trumpets in what was that track off the first Cooper's album, the ding,
Who Needs Enemies?
Enemies, yeah.
Yeah, I was speaking to Kieran about this as well, about he was reminiscing about how he came back to the barn, and that this sort of great brass parts had been written, and he said, oh, you know, it was great what you and Tom did. And I had to correct him, say, well, Tom did all the trumpet parts, and I had a fantastic trombone part that complemented it. And we never, you know, stretched out the budget to get a trombone player in to come and play it. It was just,
we spent it all on the timpanis, Ben.
That was album 2. I heard about that little slide dig as well in your previous webinar. That 808, you know, really proved a valuable purchase for some of those songs on Kick Up the Fire. But anyway, I want to hear some more of this track.
Oh yeah.
So,
Hey. So we've got various different demos here. I think this is in chronological order. So we've got these. Oh God, well, these guitars. It's one of those moments. Normally Paul or Fisher would come up with these amazing guitar moments, but this guitar. It seemed to be so easy with this track, because I remember that it just sort of all fell into place. You know, some tracks do that, don't they? And it was just like, oh, well, let's try this, and it was like, oh, that just sounds good, and it just works. And I guess everything was great, other than what we discussed a minute ago about the top line in the chorus. But yeah, this original demo, it had 2 choruses, and then at this point I think it just went off on one. So maybe it'd be interesting to play the ends if you want to have a listen.
Well, definitely that guitar part is something that sticks out on the track, you know, that you just released. It just, you know, it's just a moment. Really, really love it. Hairs on the back of the neck. And so it just came easily, or just felt right, or was it just what was the process?
Felt really vibey. I remember speaking to Justin, who used to play in Milo and now plays in Editors, about you know, usually, like if you've got the vibe or whatever, and you hear something, a backing track, the bass and the drums are down or whatever, and you're feeling good about it, and you've got your mojo or whatever, and you pick up your guitar, it's usually the first thing you play, actually, or pretty much, because like you're just like, and Paul's pretty good with that, isn't he? Like when I play something, he's like, oh yeah, got it, bang, off, because it's just like, don't think about it, go with your fingers, like just play and let loose. And I remember it being that sort of thing. It was just like, you know, I've got this thing, bang, and it's like down, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's nice, just vibe. It's all about the vibe.
I remember being at your house in North London one night, and there were lots of people there, and there was like talk about the vibe, and there was people playing some great sounds. I thought, yeah, I've got to get a piece of that, and I was very, very stoned at the time, and I thought I was playing something amazing, and you had to come and shake me on the shoulder and say, Ben, you've got to stop playing just one note. So obviously just playing doom, doom. But in my head, I was doing something spectacular. But yeah, as long as you're...
We were having a little jam.
There's a little jam. I don't know who the other people were. There's lots of people there. And it was like, yeah, I'm really feeling this. It was like a real great electronic beat. I think someone was on drums and someone playing some guitar. And I thought, yeah, pick up the bass, play something.
Right, in Manor House.
Doom, yeah, doom. And to be honest, with hindsight, you were right. I mean, everyone else plays something brilliant. I'm just going doom, doom.
Well, sometimes those dung dungs can be really important, can't they? Because you just that's the thing, isn't it? It's like it's a chemistry that you can't put your finger on sometimes. And again, Cooper's and Milo, it's like you just take one piece of the puzzle out. Maybe it's the guy playing the dung dungs, and then it's just not the same, is it? And you're just like, we're missing something.
Yeah, well, it's also what people say about when you go in the studio and you work with producers and they work with other artists, and you talk about what the process is. I was always quite astounded about how the stories coming back from producers and engineers would be. Often it would be the first take or couple of takes with a singer, that would be the one that's got the most vibe, and take that forwards, as opposed to lots and lots of takes as well. So yeah, I guess, you know, it's not just instruments, but also sometimes delivery of when someone's performing and singing. Sometimes the first one is the best one.
Absolutely. Paul and I have had that countless times, when you do something and maybe you don't record it quite properly enough or something, or you're doing it and I don't know, maybe it's a bit noisy in the background or something, but it's just like perfect, and it's so difficult to actually record it properly or whatever, and then quite often you just end up using it, don't you, because it's just that thing, and it's just
trying to recreate again that vibe, that the essence of it, you know. And sometimes it's there, and you just got to go, right, that's it. You could spend hours trying to get a more, say, professional recording of it, but then it's just sometimes it loses it. So yeah, you just got to, like so Justin would say, it's normally kind of the first thing that you pick up, and sometimes you've got to let that ego kind of, you trust your gut on it and be like, well, okay, that's good. Let's so that's quite hard though, because then yeah, it's hard. Well, no, we could dissect it now, we could try and do something else, and then it 12 years later, fool on everyone.
So what's the outro of the track, if you're going to play us, because I'm excited to hear this.
None of the scream.
Okay, that's it's just going on and on and on. I remember.
It's great though, isn't it? All those
Yeah,
sounds.
That's the live version right there.
Yeah, no, it would be a great live version, wouldn't it? And there was just so much going on at the end there. It was just too much. And when I came back to it, I was like, oh, I know I spent ages putting all that in there, but it was like, well, actually, we just grab a little bit of that guitar part and a little bit of that guitar part and a little bit, and we'll just keep it nice and concise. And after every vocal in the second verse, we'll just like pepper a little bit there and a little bit there, and just make it a little bit more, digestible, I guess, because it was just. And then I mean, that as you said, that's a live version, isn't it? I think
Brutalist. You absolutely brutalist. Sorry, Paul, I cut you short there.
No, but I like that I said that, because if it's anything against Tom, then it's fine to do it. No, what we did, like and there was another one. Was it for anyone? We did like a St. Vincent outro. Can you remember that kind of?
Yeah, that was amazing, actually. Well, I mean,
I can't remember where that was. Because that just went off. If you want to wig out, then
that's a new track in itself, isn't it? But I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Will ever get realized. That was the guitar solo that went into the final version.
Yeah.
It was just. Yeah, it was. We just had that on loop, didn't we? Because it was.
I think that's a different song, isn't it? You don't get rid of that drum beat. That sounds great. Sorry, was I not making myself clear? So get rid of the drum beat. The drum beat doesn't work with that.
Back in the studio, guys. You're back in.
Yeah.
I think when we were listening in the studio, we had a. And then you put this vocal on it, didn't you, Paul? And then we were like, whoa, where are we going?
I like it. I really like it. I'm going to say what you played earlier with all those sort of percussive bits as well. I know you spoke about it with Dan, about adding percussive elements that really sort of support the song and can, where you have the same sort of bass line or guitar part, but then when you add percussion, it starts to give it a different feel. And something I really like about Losers with the electronic elements you always bring in. So I think live version, that's someone watching that, we just want you to wig out, just extend it and make it into some kind of epic electro euphoric.
Yeah. Secret Garden Party banger.
Megalodon. Yeah, no, it's really great sounds.
With the percussion, because getting back to those jams that we used to have in North London, it was amazing when someone would pick up the tambourine or the shaker or whatever, and give it a little 16 on the shaker or whatever, and then as soon as that person stopped doing that in the room, it would be like, whoa, where's the vibe gone? It would be, and then you'd be like,
you nearly fall over, right?
Yeah, because it really does. It's the glue, isn't it? It's like, it's strange, and it's just so much vibe because it's just so much energy and all that top end, and that end kind of reminds me a bit. There's a Radiohead track, isn't there, that Ben really liked, actually. Raindrops, is it? And which had all these sort of like resonant high synth sounds and quite percussive, and I think I was sort of like, I had that in the back of my head as well, and just like loving all that. Yeah, it's percussive stuff.
Yeah, it's brilliant. There's also about this track as well, there's, you mentioned about Days, it's definitely got Soulwax elements to it as well. So Soulwax live band, who I know some of us were really into as a live band before they became these superstar DJs. And yeah, it's just got something magical.
Yeah, it's a good shout about Soulwax. I definitely felt that when I first heard it, probably back in 2010. It was the LCD sound system bass slash with Soulwax, and then I was totally in. But again, it's getting right by. Took another 10, 12 years to get it.
I think the thing with losers as well is because you're so prolific, you've got so many ideas that, you know, you on to the next one, or as opposed to you sort of rich in ideas, as opposed to, you know, this is the one that we're going to work on solely for this period of time, you know, that you are so prolific, you know, sharing this idea came from Eddie. Eddie's got ideas, I know Paul's got ideas, Tom's got ideas. So yeah, I guess that's a fortuitous place to be, that you've got so much creativity within the band.
Too much, Ben, too much.
Well, I think it's good. I think this is like doing these releases like this is help. It's just allowing us to get these tracks out. I think in a bunch of interviews I've said that they have their 6 weeks of space to exist in their own rights, and I know that we're grouping them as EPs, but it's just nice to get some of these tracks out that are kind of misfits within an album, you know, like Fool Anyone on How to Ruin Other People's Futures would just not work. But it's a great track, so it needs to be out, you know, we want to get it out.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
All right, should we have a look to see what's going on in the stems then?
Yeah.
So I actually took out Eddie's guitar. I'm really sorry, Eddie. It's a beautiful piece, but it didn't work for some reason. I don't know, just didn't feel the vibe. So the new version is not that.
Just to remind everyone what it was, the thing that's what we were really feeling.
We're really feeling that. This is what happened last time. We were like, yeah, that demo is amazing. Play what we've got now. Not so good. Right. So,
bit of a calling card, isn't it? Hello, college radio. Here we are. Nice little entrance before the riff really kicks in and we take off.
Yeah. So this acoustic guitar, I think I've done this for every track ever since Fisher started playing guitar with every string.
Oh, the tuning
notes. Yeah. So this is, again, I think I've got like the top 2 strings as they should be or whatever, and then the rest of them are on a drone, or maybe there's 3 strings that are tuned as they should be, but you can hear the drone in the background. Paul, you're doing this quite a lot as well, aren't you? With drones.
Oh, yeah, love the drones. Keep doing those drones.
Which is some bands that sort of remind me of that, sort of something used in Helmet as well with tunings. But I think the good thing about doing a tuning like that, it means that a guitar doesn't sound like so many other songs. You've created its own space, it's got its own identity. So, you know, I think there's something very special about that part, and also that different tunings.
Yeah, different tunes, the percussiveness, and just sometimes when the notes are not quite settled, it just gives that real nice. So it has its own. It just creates its own space within the full track, you know, and it's that human element that I love as well. It's like it's real. It's a million nostalgic sounds, and yeah, we're messed up. Love it. College radio.
And then we just got an organ in there. Pretty simple. Probably the same organ sound for Oblivion. I think we did it around about the same time. And then
I actually listened to Oblivion the other day. Great song, by the way. I was really it came on my Spotify. You can listen to other use other streaming platforms, but yeah, really it's a fantastic song as well. Sorry, but I digress. Sorry.
There's a remix that was done by the guy that used to be in the Infidels, is it? But he did a really good remix of it with a rapper on it, and the guy raps sort of really Paul's part. I really, really loved it.
I don't think I've heard that.
Really weird, jerky beat to it, which was just amazing. Total vibe. All right, what do we got next? So there's actually quite a lot going on in there, because there's really quite a lot of effects and different sounds and phasers and all sorts. That actually took quite a long time. I remember sort of thinking like, wanted something like a little bit Becky, like sort of quirky, random, bit of ear candy. And I think it's, yeah, it really does the job. You can hear like in the background, there's a really distorted guitar that's like super overdriven. I haven't got the separates for that actually, but yeah, there's quite a lot of layering going on, and that's things that just like takes a bit of time, but it really adds the excitement as you're about to drop into the main section.
Yeah, it sucks you in. It sucks you in. So you've got this lovely, guitar part, blissful, and that sort of that hints that suggests something's coming, and then suddenly we all know what's coming next, don't we?
It sounds like yeah, that song that I keep forgetting what it's called. I think that's Mr. Paul Mullen on his, that's your Zero Worship pedal, isn't it?
Possibly that, yeah, exactly. That's brutal pedal, but sat in the right spot, just adds that little bit of little candy.
Just really,
nice.
really dirty distortion.
Yeah. Shove that guitar through, like the entire sound through a tiny little tube.
Yeah. Completely drowning out my telly in the background there. Very important. Getting a bit of stereo there, a bit of depth. But essentially, they're all playing the same thing, aren't they? They're all supporting each other just to fatten up that riff. Right.
How many studios did we record this in? Like 4? As in over the years? 5?
Well, the house in London, then Manor House, then it would have gone to Woltersdorf, and then it's come here. So that's 4 studios. Yeah. So
yeah,
it's a lot of that's a lot of things going on, isn't there? Different guitars, different. I mean, originally I played the bass on I think the Music Man, which I ended up having to sell to pay my rent, which was a bit sad, but let's have a listen to that little.
I was just thinking that, like, what instruments are on here? We probably don't have some of them anymore.
I don't think so.
Why is that?
Because that bass is quite clangy. We had a Music Man in Cooper's, didn't we? And it's got like quite a metallic sound, and it's really important for certain songs to have that sort of clanginess coming through, because Eddie's got this Music Man now, which is quite sort of boomy, and you don't get it to cut through like that. So
I think, but you know better than me, but instruments in the studio go through different effects through Pro Tools, and then they change their sound completely, tonality, and then when you play it live, you have a different sound. If you've got a sound person there, then they have their preference, how they like to mic it up and channel it. So I guess it's just, it works for this track, whatever you record, because the bass sounds fat. But when you take, the great thing about when you take songs live is you don't do carbon copy, you take it into a new space. So it'd be great to hear this live.
I guess so. But for me, there's always been this, like, I had that, what was that, Fender Strat, which is really high end, and the bass, the Music Man, which is it had the high end, and then if you don't have the high end to start off with, it's difficult to put it in, because I remember recording lots of stuff with that Strat, and it's really spiky, and it would be amazing for like percussive guitar sounds and stuff, which I could never get with my Gibson. And when somebody borrowed that Strat off me and lost it in a taxi one night, which whatever, devastated, and I never got it back, and I was never able to get that sound actually. And it's like, well, you could put I remember so many occasions playing my Gibson and thinking like, oh yeah, I'll just add it in, some top end, or put it through an amp, whatever, but it would never be that thing. And when you take it out live, it's like, yeah, you can you get a different vibe or whatever. But if you're specifically looking for
Yeah,
that,
I mean, what I meant was that, you know, so anyone who's perhaps not even into guitars that much, when you sort of see your favorite artists or guitarists and you see one playing a Gibson and someone else playing a Fender, you can hear the tonality difference. They're poles apart, but you know, in terms of Fenders have that scratchy percussive sound. Gibsons, you're never going to get that, like you said, no matter what you try to do. I guess it's in the same ballpark, aren't they? I mean, that Strat was really percussive, and it also went hand in glove with the way that you wanted to play the guitar, or wanted to play on certain songs with a bit more percussive, as opposed to other songs. You know, like in the first record, you know, with what you did on the Lake springs to mind. With the Gibson, it worked with the Gibson. It wouldn't have worked with the Fender. And you know, Lot Fisher's parts when he played were with Fender, and often guitarists have their own preference. I think the guy from the Kills, he likes really unique brand of guitars. Remember, that was some kind of studio wormhole we went down where we started to see what different guitars different artists were playing. And whenever you get in a studio with people who know their shit, they start to tell you all these differences about the sounds and the techniques the different guitarists are using in different makes. Like I think Reese, he's got a Japanese make of guitar that's based on the Gibson, but sounds very different, but sounds better than the Gibson. Is, you know, everyone's got their own style and favorites that works with them. You know, I've been putting off buying an acoustic guitar for the best part of a year, because that's fear when you go into a music shop and stuff, and everyone's watching you saying what you're going to play on guitar, but also it's about what style is going to suit what I want, how I want the acoustic to sound. It's it's a bit like, I remember, Tom, when you were telling me about those modular synths, where it's a whole different world before you can even think about which one you want to get. It's also personal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the context, isn't it, about what's going on around it? Because if you've just got that instrument on its own, like, you know, Fisher would always have guitar sounds that were just like massive, and like if he played a riff, it was just like, oh my god, it's amazing, you know, it's so full or whatever. But then it's like, well, within a band of 6 people, you got to start cutting some of that down. You got to choose the bit that you want, because there's only so much in a spectrum that you can use up. And like, I think like me and him, for example, worked kind of well, because I guess I was a bit softer with the Gibson, and he was always sort of like more cutting and crispy. And I think, I don't know, with Milo, you just still sort of played it was like a wall of sound, wasn't it? But that was that context, wasn't it? That's what the sort of you were going for, I guess.
We all had different guitars and we all took up different spaces. I had this, still got the Telly, and that was just super spiky. I just sat on top of everything. And yeah, but it was like in the studio. Now I have a Casino, which I absolutely love. It's super thick, super just lush sound. Got the SG and the Telly, and they seem to cover all those moments when you like, I need something in the mid range, I need something a bit more bassy and kind of full, and then the Telly on top. So it is just getting to know your instrument, getting to know all about them, and then you just whack them on top, and it's great.
Yeah, you're both right.
Yeah,
You're both right about listening to others and then finding the spaces and letting other people breathe when they're playing something, as opposed to just trying to all play at once. And you know, unless that is your style or genre, what you want to convey. I think, you know, it works better live when you've got a band playing live. But like you're right, something in your studio record, trying to get that and the tones and everything working in harmony. There is an art to it.
Yeah. All right, let's crack on, shall we? So this is quite succinct. We've gone straight into small hands, keep working. Yeah, we go straight into a chorus from a verse here. So what have we got coming in? We've got a acoustic crunch. Which, to be honest, I don't remember recording at all.
That's the Casino.
Is it?
Right? No, it's the acoustic.
And apparently that's an acoustic guitar, so I
I'm
don't
trying to think what that was.
Trusting your labeling.
And then this arpeggiator, someone mentioned this when we dropped the track and said, oh, that's such a simple arpeggiated guitar, it's perfect for the track. And I was so happy he said that, because that is what I was looking for. And I remember I did it, but I think because of the mixes that we were listening to, I'd never sort of pushed it up front. And Paul, you were saying like, no, we need something else, and I was coming more and more around to the idea of just like keeping that, and you were saying like, no, we need something else. And I remember thinking like, oh god, because we spent too long on this and my mixes aren't right, because I'm not a good mixer. And it wasn't until actually we got it back from Damien, and I think it was just like, come on, I think it's there, I think we've got enough, sort of thing. And then he sort of boosted it up, and it was just like, oh, okay, yeah, that is fine actually how it is. It's just like the vocal and that, and it's not a melody line actually, it's just an arpeggiated pick part that just works nicely with it.
So bring it out like that, it was like that was the focus. Before it was like it was there, but it just felt there was it literally just bring it up in the mix, you know, and it filled that space, and it was like, okay.
Yeah, it felt like there was a hole there, wasn't it? But it's you know, sometimes that can happen, isn't it? It's just like, especially if you haven't got an engineer or producer there, you know, if you're doing it yourself, and maybe you can't be objective and be like, oh, you know, that really needs to be in that place, as opposed to being the person who just created it and wrote it, and it's just like, yeah, just put it in because I know it's going to work. It's two different parts, isn't it, of the of how you look at it in the studio, I guess.
Something I like about this song is the difference in terms of feel between the two choruses. You know, we talk about this part and the vocal line, but then in chorus 2, it's very different. You've got the other vocals coming in, which, you know, I told you, Tom, that I really, really loved, and messaged you straight away about all these BVs coming in and interspersed. So yeah, it's really, you know, it's really good work. That the vibe between and difference between the two choruses for me.
The BVs again were something that I tried to recreate, but I couldn't. And actually, the timing's a little bit off. And I said to Damien when he mixed it, I was like, well, they're not actually, because everybody these days, I'm not sure how you did it with your album, whatever, but you know, it's so like rigid, and it's got to be spot on with all the tuning and the timing. And you know, it's crazy if you listen to modern music and then listen to music from 20-30 years ago, and you can just, the vocal, it's just like nothing's imperfect anymore, is it? It's like in mainstream music.
Yeah, we've got a song on the new on our record called With You. It's kind of got a call and response, and Max made me sing, I don't know, over 100 takes of With You, where he just layered it and layered it and layered it, so it just sounded huge and didn't sort of trim it so everything's in time. It was a very strange experience. I kept saying, I think we've got it now. He goes, no, keep going. I just remember being so exhausted by the end of it. And then he said, yeah, I think we've got it. And then it still wasn't going to commit that we did have it. So yeah, so it'd be interesting to hear what that Damien did.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I gave him a new version, but he actually just kept the old one, I think. So
You don't fool anyone.
So we got Paul down here.
You don't fool anyone. 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 You don't fool anyone.
And I think it's really subtle, actually. I'm listening back thinking that it was so different, but it's just like the time is slightly off. But it's, I mean, God, if you were singing that live, you would never even notice. But for me, like, God, I'm just like, it's not right on it.
It sounds great.
It's on that note.
I don't know. But the movement when you listen to it, the movement of the vocals supporting the main vocals, like Paul's vocal doesn't. It sounds, I guess, because you're delivering it and you're sitting on the song. You're not stretching or you're not singing loudly. It's just got such a warm tone, and then the BV support for that is really good. I mean, I could just imagine, just give me that. Just give me a few days. I'll write a house classic, and let's take it to a few clubs, because it's so euphoric.
Well, we have to get another remix out, shall we? So let's listen to the vocal and the arpeggiated guitar.
You don't fool anyone. You don't fool anyone. You don't fool anyone. You don't fool anyone. You don't fool anyone.
And that was it, wasn't it? And then I think actually maybe in the second chorus, another part.
You got cake. Well, here's the. You don't fool anyone. You don't fool anyone. You don't fool anyone. You don't fool anyone. You don't fool anyone.
Okay, yeah, so we've got like an extra harmony arpeggi coming in just to build that second chorus, which is a nice little touch, isn't it?
And was there a vocal missing there as well? Isn't there something going across?
So let's see what's going on in this chorus. So let's just have the acoustic in there as a little. We've got the Juno like supporting this new harmony guitar that's come in. Oh, what else we got going on here? We've got a couple of organs going on, and then vocals.
You don't fool anyone. You don't fool anyone. You don't fool anyone. You don't fool anyone. You don't fool anyone.
And then, yeah, vocal wise, this was probably the last thing we did, wasn't it? Paul is great at coming up with these really catchy backing vocals. I know, Ben, you're a big fan of a backing vocal.
Yeah, definitely.
Really tied it all together. This is another one of the things he just said, oh, what about this? And it's like, that's fantastic.
You've got friends.
So we've got a BV track, and then he also did a track. Paul quite often likes to just sing into his amp, you know, through a pedal just for vibe, which quite often just really does actually just bring the vibe, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So we've got this coming in.
You don't fool anyone.
So we've got that normal BV track, and then
that's so
good. Accept yourself.
And that really just is lovely ear candy, isn't it?
Fool anyone. Don't fool anyone. You don't fool anyone. Oh, no, accept yourself.
I just started nodding my head, and then you pressed stop. I was really getting into and the thing.
We were just about to hit the funky guitar solo.
On that as well, your voices merge really well, don't they? Because when you both sing, it's quite different when you're singing voices. But then in this track, they really seem to blend better than or in a way that I've never heard with Losers before.
I know what you mean. I guess Paul's more laid back than he used to be. Yeah, how he used to sing. And actually, I'm pushing it more than I normally would, because I'm normally quite down low and sort of, I'm having to sort of really pump it up there. So I guess we're sort of meeting in the middle somewhere, aren't we?
Yeah, we're just meeting there. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, definitely different qualities of the voice. I think Ben's right. They really work really well together on this track.
Yeah, really well.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And then So next section.
Accept yourself.
So yeah, we got these St. Vincent guitars going on, which is I don't know what. Well, I guess it was her actually. I listened to something and just thought there was just so many pictures of the same thing going on, I think, and I thought, oh, that's quite a cool idea. So I've done this on quite a few tracks, I think, where you just play you play a line, So the original would have been. So that's, is that the original? And I can't work out which is the original, but you do one version and then you pitch it up and then pitch it down, and then once you've pitched it down, you put another pitch on that, and then pitch on this and that, and you just build it. It's with these I do it with these little altar boys, and also just in house with the wherever it is, the standard sound shifter. By just dragging down like a whole octave, so it basically sounds like you've got lots of depth, and it's basically all the same line, but you're just pitching it all over the place, so that when they're all together, you get this massive sort of choir chorus.
Just looking at the panning that
and they're all just stacked, you know. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them there, and sometimes I'll do more, and it's just a cool little thing. I mean, I'm sure you have you know, things that you go to, you know, just that have your little character. There's like, you know, for me, I've started doing that quite a bit just because I just love the way it sounds together, and the, you know, the thing with the acoustic where it's like droned. And you have any tricks like that?
I don't have many tricks. What you see is what you get, and relying on good people, collaborating with good people. But what I was going to say was about, it's so fascinating to work through someone else's track like that, because you hear so many sort of nuggets of rich pieces of music when you isolate them, that have got so many hooks and so much character. And then when you hear them embedded with the track, you sort of start to see how the track came together. But you know, sometimes it's difficult when you're writing a song to leave out sometimes your favorite part, because I guess what you were saying earlier, Tom, about it, the song sounds better or more cohesive without it. But you know, something that is so rich or really floats one's boat can sometimes could be confined to the trash, which sometimes is just, you know, is very strange, because when you're writing a song and there's a bit where you think, well, that's the moment. Sometimes by the end of the song, that moment's no longer in it because you've taken it somewhere else.
It happened on the last track. It happened on Wake Up. There's a whole section which we absolutely loved, and yeah, it just went. So just, you know, with it, like you said, that kind of St. Vincent guitar thing, and we then extended it, and you said, yeah, it's a different vibe, it's a different track. So we'll probably look into that, and so
we'll turn that into something else, won't we, one day?
I'll do something along with it, yeah.
Look forward to it. But yeah, no, I mean, I guess it's I guess for me, I always like singing high octaves of a chorus line as well. I guess a bit like what you're doing there, just to give it a bit more presence. That's something that I tend to go back to over and over again. One trick pony.
That's very true, actually. That's very true. That's nice tied in.
But it's I guess it's also, when I hear it on tracks, I really like it. So if you like it, use it and adopt it.
All right, and then we're into our outro then, I believe.
Accept yourself.
We've got this cheeky little bouncy Juno in there. Which Damien, it sounds like he's put some kind of shift on it, just to.
I guess that was part of the wig out section. That was like 2 minutes long, and that's probably
exactly
that's what that was salvaged from that like 7 seconds of music was out of.
Yeah, it is exactly, and it's I'll try and find actually where in the second verse. See there, it's just 2 notes, and it was taken from that section that was about 2 minutes long, which had meh, meh. And I remember Eddie saying, it's like, oh, you've got to go up the guitar and make each one like slightly more mad than the next one. And I spent ages going
that's one of my favorite things in the studio, when you sit there and you're sort of watching someone else go, yeah, just keep trying like that, just do a bit like, and you're just like, the other person's got no idea, but you're desperately trying to placate the person who's got the idea, and it's just a recipe for disaster.
More like meh, meh. What do you mean meh, meh? No, you know what I mean, like meh, meh. Like okay.
Just stuff like just go up the fretboard, fretboard.
And then there's like no more room left, and he's like, go higher, and I'm like, I can't, I've run out of notes.
Or make it sound like someone, make it sound like so and so guitarist or so and so. Like, it's that easy.
And then
Just
all
like
that,
that,
there's 2 notes after all that. There's just that. But then also, I mean, that came in on the wig out section. That went on for about 16 bars. That's just 2 notes as well. And that was about 32 bars of that. And, you know, just it was nice because we had that time away. I could just pick out a little bit, and they just come at the end of the vocals, which it was enough, you know.
Don't fool anyone. Don't fool anyone. Oh, except yourself. But his cat's got the cream. You got faith. We'll use the resistance. You've got friends.
It's a bit of Robert Fripp from King Crimson, some of those guitar parts, which I'm a big fan of.
Some of your
really good.
Yeah. That's some of your best soloing work there, Tom, as well. I love that.
You what
Big
work?
fan. Soloing work.
Soloing. What's that?
Solo, Tom.
You got
solo.
Thanks, mate.
Oh,
Solo track.
I don't know how you put up with it, Paul.
I think we only understand. Well, he only understands about 60% of what I say. You know.
I didn't understand that.
How are you, man? Don't be daft.
But you know, I think, you know, this song in a live setting would just take on a life of its own. You know, you can just see it broken down, and then just building it brick by brick. It'd just be huge.
I think that's the certain part, and had that in other tracks, Losers tracks as well, where you do it in the studio, and then once you get to a band sort of playing it, it does take on a new life, and it changes, evolves, and we're always down to like mess about and deconstruct our ideas anyway, so it will take on a new life, I'm sure, once we get on stage again at some point, you know.
I was gonna say,
sorry, Tom.
I was gonna say the same about Pushing Up, Ben, because the outro of that's monstrous. It's like, it's crazy.
That we before lockdown we played a few shows where we had that as a set closer, and in the sort of the outro, everyone's just doing something different each time that we played, and it seemed to resonate with people who were watching as well. And then we had one of our friends who came up during that song, and then we didn't find him for the next few hours because he said he had a moment when it came up. So I think it was definitely the drugs more than the music. But it's that was I guess Pushing Up, the outro, that took a lot of crafting, and that was something that I kept going back to again and again with everyone else, in terms of trying to layer it and try to give it a bit of its own narrative and its own crescendo. So that took quite a bit of work, and a lot of stuff taken out, new stuff put in, and just massaging to make it coherent, and without it just being sort of a wall of noise all the way through. So there's a bit of craftsmanship in there.
A lot of craftsmanship, because there's a lot of different sections, isn't there? And I've heard some of your other stuff as well, and there's a lot going on in terms of arrangement and sort of dynamics, and it's kind of it's hard to sort of stick them together and make them all sound coherent, but you've done it. And it's I we had that conversation the other day about I'd listened to some guy talking about, great songwriting is all about crafting, and actually it's making a song the best it can be. And it's like, if you just want to write a song for yourself, then that's fine. It's like, just go and do it. But if you want it to connect with other people, you're essentially asking them for their approval, and that's when it starts getting difficult. And you know, you really have to craft to make sure that you're connecting with people. And I think that's something that you do really, really well. And I remember with Cooper Temple Claws, you were really always crafting and making sure that it could be the best that you know it could be, in terms of it connecting with people. So I think that's an amazing attribute that you have.
Well, thanks. I mean, I think I guess you make a choice, don't you, when you write a song? I guess this is an example where it is sort of crafted. It's got so many layers. It is fusing different genres. Whereas I guess if you've got a stripped back track where it's just you record a live setting, or it's just a guitar and vocal, then sometimes it's more what we were saying earlier about sort of capturing that feel first or second time, move on to the next song. So definitely Pushing Up wasn't one of those. It had a few iterations, and then as more people started to imprint their leanings towards it and their take on it, it sort of manifested and took on its own life. So yeah, we're happy with how it's come out on record, and the fun thing will be taking it live. And much like Paul said, live it will sound very different, but we know it worked live because we played it a few times. So hopefully one day we'll get to play and come to Berlin, and maybe Paul will house us in LA as well. So we'll see.
Have you got a track coming out soon after? I mean, is it on the cards before? What's your plan?
Yeah, we're gonna have a track out. When are we in? I guess it'll be in September, probably mid to late September. I have to make sure that we don't clash with Losers. Yeah, we just got to get we're doing a slight edit of it, so we just got to wait to get that back and have it mastered and then put it up on the platforms and everything. So yeah, in mid-September I think it will be available for people to hear.
Yeah. It's nice to have you back out there, Ben.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I'm enjoying it. Like I said, it's really nice. Had some really nice comments, people who were fans of the Cooper Temple Claws, a few people who've discovered us in different ways as well. So yeah, it felt like the right time to start to get the record out, you know. And then I guess it's just thinking about whether we're going to do a few live shows or not. And with Johnny in Valencia, and currently no jabs, he's sort of stuck there at the moment. So hopefully he'll get his jab soon, and we'll be able to see him and then think about playing some shows.
Nice. Does anyone have any questions? Paul Mullen, do you have any questions?
Well, I'll check this. This sounds sick. Great. Loving it. Everyone's loving it. Great. Hamburg. I'm great. Yeah, if anyone's got any questions, Cooper Temple Claws back now, someone said, right now, this minute. So what do you say about that?
We'll say it was Dids' birthday, so we recorded in some messages for his birthday on Monday. We didn't see each other's messages, but we just have a WhatsApp thread, just making sure that everyone got their video sent to the person editing it for Dids' birthday. So
that was a collab, wasn't it?
That was a collaboration, but I guess, you know, I guess with the band, it was, you know, we've managed to stay incredibly good friends, and that's more precious than the band. So yeah, you know, Tom was my best man, Kieran too. So, you know, and it's good that we started to pick up discussions and more discussions with Dids as well. I know Tom's going to be going for dinner with him soon, so I guess it's just nice to catch up with friends, and everyone's doing different things now. You know, you guys are in the middle of a track every 6 weeks, new songs, and then we're trying to Kieran and me trying to get the Tight to Era stuff out there, and then not too sure what Fisher's doing at the moment. I know he's in sort of hiatus at the moment.
Yeah.
Little Mo says, hey guys, are you planning a video for the song Follow You? Yes, we are, Little Mo. Thank you. It's coming together as we speak and looking really great. Really, really excited to show you this one. And she says, thank you for this, another beautiful webinar. Well, thank you for being here and joining us. Thank you, Ben, for joining us. Thank you.
Well,
Paul.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. So let's wrap that up, shall we? And best of luck with all the future releases, Ben. And you said before we started that we should keep this one short because apparently you'd watched the others and said they were too long. This has actually been the longest one now, so I think that's probably because you're talking too much.
Yeah, I was aware of sort of the sound of my own voice, and I won't be watching this one back. But for anyone who stayed, to the end, thank you. Yeah, on behalf of Losers fans everywhere, thanks to Losers for another fantastic track, and look forward to the next few songs. And I guess it's over to you, Tom, to take us away with new song. Fool anyone.
Alf saying bye to you, and see you back on tour one day. Thank you, Alf. Yeah, we'll see you. We'll see you
in Hamburg. Yeah, we'll see you in Hamburg. Oof.
All right.
We'll be there.
All right.
Take care, everyone.
Lots of love, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And who is this? It is Paul from Losers. But he's woke up in some kind of pink purple void. Could be the colour confetti from Home Depot. I'm not sure. What's he got? He's got a balloon. It's a pink balloon. He's gonna blow it up into. No, he's not gonna blow that one up. I think what he's trying to tell you is there's a new video from Losers coming out, and he will tell you after he's blown up this balloon. No, not that one. It's a track called "Fool Anyone," and this is good. This is third time. No, third time. Not lucky. I was a slap in the back. He's looking around, making sure no one's watching this. We're all watching you here, Paul. We can see. Yeah, he's pissed off now. He is pissed off, but he's found more balloons for some reason. Where the hell is he getting them from? Okay, here we go. This is lucky. Wait, that was a rasper. Okay, Paul. Okay, Fool Anyone is coming up right after this. After he blows up a balloon, we're gonna watch the video, but it's not gonna be that balloon. He's got one more though, people. One more, and then we can watch the video. Here we go. It's looking good. He likes it. All he has to do is sign on it, and then we can watch the video. And he's... Oh, fuck.
Thank you for choosing this Fool Anyone video. This video is unlike any you've ever experienced. If you're familiar with the Fool Anyone products, then you're naturally susceptible to hidden agendas. Congratulations! It'll be easier for you to see the images in this video. It may take a little practice, but don't be alarmed. Have patience. This patience will be rewarded. If you're unfamiliar with the Fool Anyone technique, digital media is an excellent tool to learn the basic principles. We've divided this video into multiple sections, each progressively more challenging. Make a game of finding the images and see how many you can identify. Don't get frustrated or give up. The more you watch, the more you will be sucked in. Once you learn the technique, then you can teach it to others to share that great feeling. Now, sit back and relax as you watch Fool Anyone, the video.
God
patients will not be rewarded with actual money or anything of value. Fool Anyone Enterprises is not a real company and accepts no responsibility for headaches, nausea, vomiting, anything mental health related, loss of income, loss of friends, loss of home, or loss of self-esteem. Your physical and mental health could be at risk by playing this game.